Down Bears fans, I'm going to talk to you guys about the Chicago Bears' biggest needs coming into this offseason. They got a ton of stuff to address, but what's the most important? Let's talk about it, starting now. Now, if you are new to the channel, please like the video. Please subscribe to the page. We do talk Chicago sports daily on this channel. It's the only channel talking Chicago sports, how Chicago talk. So make sure that you get in tune with us, man. Hey, Bears heading into this offseason, ton of optimism around this team. Feel good, really good about what the Bears have an opportunity to get done this offseason. But there's so many things for the Chicago Bears to fix, and everybody has a different opinion on what they need to go after, right? Some people think you need to focus on just getting Justin some weapons. Some people believe you got to focus on defensive line. You got to focus on that secondary. But what do you guys believe is the most important thing that the Chicago Bears can focus on with all of this? Let me know in the comments below. I'll be down there talking with you as well. I think here's the thing. There's a couple of places where I think the Bears need to focus their attention most coming into this draft. It feels like, at least at a minimum, in this draft, you can get a game-changing player for your defensive line if you have that opportunity. And I think that's one place that the Bears really need to look because of the moves that they made last season. Here's the start for me. I know offensive line is going to be important. I've told you guys I want veterans there. I don't want to see the Bears taking offensive line in the first round of this draft. I would rather see vets in there, guys you can sign, guys you can move into position, guys that Justin Fields can have that have been in the game before and don't need somebody to explain to them how to play their position at the NFL level, at a high level. But you have an opportunity right now to go get what seems to be a game-changing player in either Jalen Carter and or Will Anderson Jr. And I think that's a situation where you look at what you did last season. You go out, you get a couple of young DBs. You've got Jalen Johnson already there. Eddie Jackson has a little bit of a resurgence. You add in Jack Sanborn. The one thing that was always missing with all of those guys, Kyler Gordon, Jaquan Brisker, was pressure. There was no pressure all year. Dominique Robinson had one game of pressure. There was no threat to get to any quarterback, right? Quarterbacks look like world beaters against the Chicago Bears because they couldn't get in the backfield and cause them any issues. And so, to me right now, I'm looking at this team and I'm saying, all right, well, we've got these young pieces who look like they're playing at a pretty good position. If we believe that Will Anderson Jr. or Jalen Carter are the game-changing, game-wrecking player that the Bears need, then that needs to be your number one priority going into this draft. Now, going into free agency, a little bit different. There's some things that you can add in there. But if you believe that you have a Aaron Donald type player coming out of this draft at 4, and you have an opportunity to continue to move back, gain a lot of draft capital, gain a lot of pieces either from Indy or from Houston, and still be able to get the guy that you want, I think that's the best opportunity for the Bears, man. And really, right, like now all of a sudden you're talking about this defense in a different light. I'm telling you, pressure takes a defense from being like, wow, they couldn't get a stop on anybody to how did they turn this defense around in 1 year? Right? Like that's how important pressure is. Now, again, you're putting a lot of pressure on a rookie. I don't know if Jalen Carter or Will Anderson Jr. are going to come in and have this dominant rookie year where we're going to be looking at them very much like we looked at Micah Parsons in year one. But I think that at a minimum, when you start to look at the players that are coming, the Bears are slated to go after in this draft, right? Like, if you feel like you have that level of talent there, that's a really blue chip piece that the Bears are missing. And you gave away a real blue chip piece in Roquan Smith, excuse me, because you didn't want to give him the $20 million a year, or you didn't want to give him that level of money in a way that he wanted it, right? And so I think at the end of the day, you look at, okay, how do we start to replace some of these blue chip players? And you do that at the top of the draft. You do that when you have the number 1 pick in the draft, or when you're able to move possibly down to 3 or 4 in the draft. Those are where you find those blue chip players And so I think first and foremost, right, you have to go out and you have to get some pressure on this defensive line. That goes out into signing free agents as well, right? I'd love to see the Bears be able to go out there and get a Daron Payne to add to this team, right? I would love to see the Bears go out there and be able to get those guys in there that are going to make all the guys behind them better. Because while we think, right, some of these guys are good, it's about, okay, can we get them to really good? Can we get them to the next level? Can we get them to turning the ball over a ton more, right? And with kind of how Flus was having guys fly to the ball and stuff like that, and Alan Williams, you kind of saw that moment where you were like, okay, I kind of can see how this could work if we get to a point where this team is actually has more talent on it than just a bunch of rookies, right? I mean, the Bears led the NFL in first and second year player snaps this year, many of those on the defensive side of the ball. So, and they probably still will next year when you look at it in retrospect. But hopefully, right, you're able to get some vets in there along with some of those blue chip pieces out of college that are going to be able to really create pressure. So defensive line right now, I know it sounds crazy, right? But I think the thing is you have the opportunity to get that guy that needs to be one of your main focuses because that opportunity is so readily available. Not to say that offensive line isn't going to be important. We'll get into that as well. But because that is such a readily available asset that you can get to while building out the rest of your team, I think that has to be your focus to start this thing off. Hey, I do want to know how you guys feel, man. Let me know in the comments below. I'll be down there talking with you as well. What do you feel like is going to be the Bears' most important offseason moves that come into play this year? What do they need to focus on, man? Let me know in the comments below. I'll be down there chopping it up with you guys. Here's the other thing for me. The one thing to me that we Bears fans are missing at some of this, right? Because there's all these shiny pieces. There are all these shiny pieces that are coming into play. Oh, we could go get this guy. We could Saquon Barkley. We should get him. Jerry Jeudy's available for trade. Let's go get D-Hop. Let's go. And listen, I'm not saying I haven't said that we should go get some of these guys. I think that some of these guys help this Bears team immediately, right? But we're talking about the most important thing you need to fix. If we don't go get a Jerry Jeudy, if we don't go get a D-Hop, if we don't go get, right, a Brandon Cooks, Michael Pittman Jr. via trade, right? If we don't move in on those guys, I'll be okay with it if you fix protection for Justin Fields, because protection means more at times than the guy catching the ball. Because how are you going to accentuate what these guys do well if you don't have time to get him the ball? What do I mean by that? A lot of the names that we're looking at here at the receiver position for the Chicago Bears. Now, Saquon Barkley a little bit different, right? And we'll have a video breaking that down as well. I know this one's dropping a little bit early, but the Bulls play tonight at 6, so we'll be live for that. So wanted to get a video out before the Bulls game. I think here's the thing that you have to look at with the Bears in this situation. A lot of these guys, when you look at those yards per catch averages and things like that, high yards per catch, high average, high, but these are routes that are running, are taking time to run. They're running deep routes. They're guys that get down the field. They're guys that take the top off. They're guys that, and so those plays need time to build up. And I think the one thing that you saw from the Chicago Bears this season, especially with Justin Fields, is that Justin didn't feel confident enough to stand back in that pocket, even at times where he should have because of how many sacks he took. He might not have led the NFL in sacks by 1, maybe, but I believe 57 sacks is a lot of freaking sacks. Pause. Is that a pause? Don't worry about that. But here's the thing at the end of the day, right? Like, you have to address this offensive line, and you have to address this offensive line, to me, with guys that have been here before, that understand how to go out there on a day in and day out basis and play this game and protect their quarterback. I don't know if you have those guys here right now. I really don't, right? I like Larry Borom. I'm sorry, I like why can't I think of old boy we drafted at left tackle last year? He played really well this season, rookie for us, and now all of a sudden I'm thinking of Larry Borom. I did like Larry Borom as well, right? Tevin Jenkins. But the thing with those two guys, right, is that they spent a lot of time this season hurt. Right, they spent a lot of time this season going down. Even Lucas Patrick. I thought Lucas Patrick was a really nice piece for the Chicago Bears, but spent so much of this season on the IR, hurt, not able to make a play. And so I think you have to take that into account as well, right? Like, I'm all in on going to get a guy like Orlando Brown Jr. I know he had a little bit of a down year, but the question mark around him has been, okay, how healthy is he going to be for the Chicago Bears coming into this? Is he kind of at that peak point in his career, right? And so you don't really have those blue chip guys on the offensive line right now. And I think that's the part that really needs to go into some serious evaluation for the Chicago Bears, because at the end of the day, your quarterback showed you this year that even at times when the play was there, even at times when the play was there to be made, he didn't feel comfortable enough to stand in there and make it because of how many times he's been hit. Is that on Justin to have to stand in there and make that pass? Absolutely, right? 100%. He's got to go out there and he's got to put that on his receiver's hands and give him an opportunity. Chase Claypool showed some frustration with that because he had destroyed his man, and Justin just had to put the ball up there, and he was too nervous to do it. And I think the other thing is too, right? Like, we talked about all season, being able to build this chemistry, being able to build this rapport with the other receivers that were in the room, but he never was able to do that. One, I think a little bit on Justin, right? I think Justin has a little bit of that Mamba mentality in him where he says, listen, you wasn't with me working in the gym to start the season, and when I've given you the ball, you have dropped it, so why should I give you this ball? And is that good? Yes and no, right? Like, I like to see that he wants his teammates to work hard. I like to see that he wants to get it to the guys that have put in the work with him, that have been on the field with him. I love that. But you also have to be able to work with what's available. And we had a lot of injuries this year, and we really didn't see him go to anybody except the guys that were there with him in training camp. Cole Kmet, Equinemius St. Brown, right? Like, guys like that. Once he lost Mooney, right? Like, he kind of just went to those couple of guys. So Dante Pettis, right? And so I think now you're in a situation where you have to allow Justin to be able to build up trust, not just in the players that are on the field, but also in his ability to work with these receivers and build that rapport with these receivers this year outside of just training camp. So for me, I think the big thing that you have to, the most important thing, right, to me is not addressing the weapons just yet. The most important thing to me is addressing the fact that, is he going to feel comfortable enough to stand back there? You have to cut those sack numbers down at least 50% going into next season, at a minimum 50% going into next season, right? And that's still a lot of sacks. That's still a lot of time on the ground. But at least that's a start in the right direction. I'm not saying you have to fix your entire offensive line in one offseason, right? Tevin Jenkins probably is going to be back at right guard for you. Not to say he didn't do some good things there. I think the injuries are just the one part that you look at with a little bit of concern, right? Again, dealing with, I believe he's still out again with a back injury, right? And I told you guys the second I found out he was hurt, big guys do not recover. His rookie year, those big guys do not bounce back when they usually start their careers injured. I think when he's on the field, he's very talented. I like what he does, but you usually don't see those guys bounce back. Larry Borum's a nice piece, nice swing tackle for you. I don't know. Lucas Patrick, hurt. Hopefully he'll be able to bounce back, but you never know. You know what I mean? Like, those are the guys to me that I look at. Cody White here, right? Where you're sitting there and you're just like, yeah, nice. We need more than nice, though. And we need nice that can stay on the field. So to me, right, I think that the trenches need to be your biggest focus. And then you work your way to your weapons, right? Listen, I'm not saying you can't get to your weapons. I'm not saying you got $150 million to spend. But the one thing that I will say is maybe you want to look at your weapons in the draft, especially if you get a ton of capital back, right? Can you find a receiver in the draft that's going to be cost controlled, that's going to be able to live up to one of these young receivers, right? That turn into a Justin Jefferson, turn into a DeAndre Hopkins, turn into a, right? One of those guys where you go get them and you're just like, oh yeah, no, we're set for the next 10 years, right? Like, can you find that guy just in the draft that's going to be able to build up that relationship with Justin Fields and continue to really work well with Justin, right? So I think that's a real question mark for the Bears coming into this one. Where do you want to find those weapons? Of course, you want to find a game-changing piece. Saquon's an interesting one as well, but I don't know, man. I don't know. Y'all know how I feel about running backs, man. Actually, me and Kid are going to break that video down probably on tomorrow's episode of The Breeze, so tune in with us on that. But hey, I do want to know how you guys feel, man. What do you think the Chicago Bears focus should be heading into this offseason? In this offseason, what should they be focusing on? What part of the ball? Let me know. I'll be down there talking with you as well. As always, man, it's your boy, Pat the Designer, back at it again to continue watching our Chicago sports content. Click the links on the screen or check the links in the description below. Y'all stay safe out there, Chicago. Peace.